अब इन दोनों चूहों को निकाल के अलग अलग नए बॉक्स में रखा गया। जो चूहा भूखा था उसके बॉक्स में लिखा गया हंग्री, और जो चूहा भूखा नहीं था
Right. Sounds good. Next witness is Dr. Carl Sagan, friend-clima 1. It's no introduction. He comes today.
Will soon be crossed.
Center for Radio
The
Physics
question
and Space
remains,
Sciences. We
how
welcome you.
will we respond?
And joining us now in the studio is
Take the
Richard
time out of
Westbrook,
your
Deputy Assistant.
schedule to come to a place like Washington where everything seems to be living in today and that.
Transpiration. This is one of the most important topics.
Carl, thank you very much.
Most important topics
आज हम करने
the
जा रहे हैं
agrometeorologists are concerned in the micrometeorological studies of crop plants. Evapotranspiration calculation is welcome to our class on welcome to our class on computation of evapotranspiration.
From the Library of Congress in from the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
I should mention that much of the work you see here is from our team. We have many graduate students and research scientists that have been involved in many of the things that you'll see here, and my staff, and then anything that you see that's terrible, the buck stops here.
Water is released into the
Okay.
air.
I won't go into too much detail of the
5 million
theory
years,
of
the Earth's
surface
climate has
warming.
fluctuated, cycling from ice ages to warmer periods.
Planeta Земля.
But in the last century, the planet's temperature has risen unusually fast, about 1.2 to 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Scientists believe it's human activity that's driving the temperatures up, a process known as global warming. At 4 degrees Fahrenheit, scientists believe it's human activity that's driving the temperatures up, a process known as global warming.
Provient de la sève brute, celle qui a été pompée par les racines. L'eau monte dans la plante jusqu'à la fleur.
But then different species
Elle est tirée par l'évaporation du niveau de la soleil.
to identify that. If I will be able to connect that.
You are talking about the roll number. This is the numerical data. Okay. We are talking about the name.
In the
This is
previous
the
class, we would
data,
have the
qualitative
various
data,
regions
okay?
that are discussed,
Not
and
quantitative.
we have classified the regions into various heads.
For counting them,
Last class we talked about the equatorial climatic regions, so that's already done. Today we will.
All right, thank you for having me. And yes, so today my talk is going to be looking at specifically the forecasting of the impacts of aerosol impacts on the forecasting of Hurricane Harvey as it made landfall using the UFS model. This is a UAlbany EMC collaborative effort with my colleagues listed below, so I just want to thank them. Quick overview here, just a little bit of motivation.
Gazed upon mountains.
Okay, let me get things started.
Okay, well, thank you, and thank you to the committee for inviting us to be here. Talking to this audience about how seismology can contribute to problem. Okay, well, thank you, and thank you to the committee for
the full edition in Paris, France.
And thank
Richard
you
Lindzen, professor of meteorology at MIT, the
committee
Massachusetts
for
Institute of
inviting us
Technology,
to be here.
Institute of Technology.
Talking to this
And
audience.
in Vancouver, British Columbia, Hadi Delatabadi, Canada Research Chair and Professor of Global Change at the University of British Columbia.
They say we're currently living in revolutionary times. Specifically,
we have an exciting technological innovation here in that due to flights from Paris being very French, there is one of our speakers is still in Europe and is going to be up on the big screen for us later on. But we're going to start with Juan Sola, who's a law professor in Argentina.
So what is this all about? Gone in principle forever. Applications are speech recognition. We have a stream of speech signals coming in, some kind of sound wave, and you somehow want to...
Making some coffee.
Okay. Hello. So we're very pleased to have Tanzim Chowdhury. Did I pronounce your last name right? Chowdhury. Chowdhury.
Is the hydrologic cycle in hydrologic
ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆರೆ ಜಾಗ ಒತ್ತುವರಿ ತೆರವು ವಿಚಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ 14 ಕೆರೆಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಿಡಿಎಯಿಂದ ನಿವೇಶನ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣವಾಗಿದೆ. 2011ರಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಕೆರೆಗಳ ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆಗೆ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಅನುಮತಿ ನೀಡಿದೆ.
Well, today I thought I'd give you something special. I had a couple viewers out there asking me, "Hey Jeff, you find a lot of gold, but have you ever found a meteorite?" And I thought about it and said, "No, you know what? Well, hey, everybody."
The next stage of the investigation was to find out what one of these subterranean cities looked like.
Well, hey, everybody. Jeff Williams here with...
Solar
hello
cycle
everyone.
prediction has been
I think we'll get
dismal
Hi.
failure.
Welcome to Astrostatistics.
Fossils tell you
Sam
so
Stevens.
much about this.
99 out of 100
my name is
got
James
the
Long. I'm going to be the
prediction
primary
wrong for
instructor
solar
for this
cycle
course.
24.
So I'm an astrostatistician.
Let's
I'm
take, for
a
instance,
assistant
solar cycle
professor in the
24.
statistics
Out
department
of 100
at Texas
top
A&M.
solar
And I've been doing
physicists and astronomers or plasma physicists, 99 out of 100 got the prediction wrong for solar cycle 24.
Oxygen isotopes are one of the most
The outliers that got it
Hello,
correct
everyone.
prediction has been an abysmal failure in the recent past.
Paleoclimates and past environment exists and how we interpret
Let's
this
take,
signal
for instance,
climatically.
solar
speaking
cycle
in Denver one time,
24.
and some guys
hello,
came and they said,
everyone.
"Hovind,
Out of
we know you teach the
100
Earth is only
top
6,000 years old.
solar
We'd like to
physicists,
prove to you
Welcome
astronomers
to
or plasma
Astrostatistics. Of course, that's Sam Stevens.
99
Long. I'm going to be the primary instructor for this course. So I'm an astrostatistician. I'm a assistant professor in the statistics department at Texas A&M. And I've been doing astrostatistics.
Outside of Denver and Lakewood.
Hello guys, welcome back.
National
Today we'll
ice-
start with meteorology
I was preaching in
I've been
Denver
trying
one
to-
time, and some guys came and they said, "Hovind, we
If
know
you
you
like this
teach the Earth is
video,
only 6,000 years
My
old."
name
I'd
is
like to prove
James
to
Long.
you one time, and some guys came and they said, "Hovind, we know you teach the Earth
In
is
this
only
video,
6,000
we're
years
going
old. We'd like to prove to
to talk
you
about
that
proxy
you're wrong."
variables. Hi, this is Lois Haggard from the New Mexico Department of Health.
They took me to this
In
big
this
freezer
video,
in Denver,
we're going
outside of Denver, Lakewood. It's the
talk
National
about
Ice
proxy
Core Laboratory.
variables that are used in
36 below zero in there.
Or in
They put this big suit on me, big hat.
there are a number of
We want to have a
principles.
little demonstration about the... They took me to this big freezer in Denver, outside of Denver, in Lakewood.
Region.
It's the
with
national...
the most limited.
I was preaching in Denver one time, and some guys came and they said, "Hovind, we know you teach the Earth is only 6,000."
Which causes increasing the temperature on the surface of the
Science. Inertia is a property of matter. T minus 7 seconds.
Life depends on the warmth of the sun being trapped by a layer of gases that surround the Earth. We now produce so much of these heat-trapping gases that the layer is getting thicker, heating the world, changing our climate and threatening our way of life. As the world gets hotter, the climate will change and some of the extreme effects we have witnessed. Life depends on the warmth of the sun being trapped by a layer of
We
gases.
looked at a model simulation going off into the future. And in this model simulation, we had a scenario
The great debate heated up recently when an email exchange of scientists came to light that cast some aspersions on statistical manipulation. So it continues here at INSEAD, this global debate. And we have with us today finance professor Theo Vermeulen and the Paul de Grille Professor of Sustainable Development, Paul Kleindorfer. Gentlemen, opposite sides of the coin, thank you for being...
I'm Dick Linson. I'm a professor.
So it continues here.
Hello, everyone.
Global warming
and
potential,
welcome. My name is Sean.
Understanding of what the future climate might be like through the use of climate models.
Today we're going to look at a number of concepts to do with climate. Hello, everyone.
Winter is around the corner, and you better start preparing your body. This means mixing some exercise into your 10-barrel and rescue water routine. I'm starting to think about working out now, but this year...
Climate change is a challenge of managing risks. Risks for people and infrastructure. Risks for ecosystems.
Extreme weather cut swaths across the world
Risks
in
for freshwater
2011.
resources
It
and
began in Cincinnati, Arkansas.
climate change is a challenge of managing risks. Risks for people and
infrastructure.
Risks for ecosystems.
Risks for fresh and more like an earthquake for us.
Some 1,600 tornadoes crisscrossed the United States last year. Other parts of the world experienced similar extreme weather.
Thank you very much, Jean-Michel, and it's a pleasure.
This might be the how-to creating. Today we're doing a fun how-to project on how to put a tree ring around your tree. We're going to be doing this with just simple retaining wall blocks.
हेलो गुड मॉर्निंग फ्रेंड्स। तो आज हम एक और बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन करेंगे, दैट इज इंटरगवर्नमेंटल पैनल ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज, जिसे हम IPCC के नाम से जानते हैं।
Zunächst erschien es nur wie ein Einzelfall. Dazu noch eine grotesk falsche Größenangabe über das nur 33.000 Quadratkilometer große Dach der Welt. Nur eine Schlampigkeit.
Beide Gebäude stürzen kurze Zeit später.
Auswirkungen des Klimas.
Camper aja nih, camper depan.
Die deutsche Meisterschaft.
Apaan? Ban baru.
That was a very big challenge.
Tom. Camper aja nih. Camper depan. Camper depan. Apaan?
United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, also known as the IPCC report released
on the mitigation of climate change indicates that world leaders are still not doing enough to cut greenhouse gas emissions to limit global warming to below 1.5 degrees by mid-century.
We are so the first word is pain.
It's the time for action. We have the tool.
Coming at a type of global
So the next one I've got is
coming at a type of global
problem
with
the scientific consensus on because you put trash in it and it looks like a can.
As a scientist, I know
okay, the next
global
one I've got
warming
is petrol.
doesn't really exist
gas.
at all in any
climate
sense of significance.
Well, thanks for the reassurance, John. Only one problem. Hello, you're not a scientist. You've got a degree in media studies.
सियारे को इस तरह से शिफा
Is the president and CEO of the National Low-Income Housing Coalition. She joins me now. This is such a crazy situation.
Welcome to
what could be the impact of the eviction moratorium?
In 2009, we are so excited to launch this because MSP is one of the Hi, welcome to the launch of Managed Service Provider Tools, which we are releasing on CN Pilot and CN Maestro products.
And all of us
we are so excited to
touching individuals and entire economies.
We are so excited to launch this.
Food security,
it's very humid air coming into
energy
Europe,
supplies,
giving
Agency of the United
Nations. Climate is changing in this area.
Internationale
The laws are still moving from Iceland to northern Scandinavia.
Tiden i Bergen langt fra fredelig, som vi ser på disse bildene, og det blir mye vær i dagene som kommer. Hei og god desemberkveld. Vi godt inne i den første vintermåneden, og snø og kulde lar vente på seg. Tiden i desemberkveld. Vi godt inne i den første vintermåneden, og snø og kulde lar vente på seg.
And in the energy that powers our businesses.
If the Earth was not surrounded by a warming blanket of air, it would be much too cold for human habitation.
Electricity we use, and in the energy that powers our businesses.
Earth's atmosphere acts as this blanket.
Agriculture, transport, waste, power generation, and other sectors.
Matt Waring. I'm the editor at Art Magazine, and this session has been organised by Nichia in association with ourselves at Art TV. I was very happy to be invited to moderate today's webinar, and we'll have a Q&A later on in the session. But first, we'll begin with a series of 3 short presentations from our esteemed panel. First, we'll begin with a series of 3 short presentations from our esteemed panel of speakers. Up first, we have Dr. Enrique Estrello. Enrique is known in the scientific circles for his work in neuroscience, especially at the point of sale.
Will be related to the index of a drug operator in 2 more dimensions. And in 2 more dimensions. And that's something I will not be able to show to you.
So now our third set of facts.
Sort of previewed that the anomaly will be related to the index of a drug operator in 2 more dimensions, and that's something I will not be able to show to you.
Piece together things that either we know that are going on out there.
Well, over the last few years, we've been having quite a
What I put together is
actually
I guess it's a trends talk. Piece together
organization.
a little research, just like you guys.
And it got its start way back in 1957. It actually, there was a significant...
Reports from the World Meteorological Organization shows that 2020 had record greenhouse gas concentration, increased global temperature to 1.2 degrees Celsius. At the World Meteorological Organization shows that 2020 had record greenhouse gas concentration, increased global temperature to 1.2 degrees. The United Nations environmental
we are talking about community connection. We have discussed about fundamental and realizing the concept of industry. Now, and I have told you that no 2 species can exist in the same niche. And this is called the competitive exclusion principle.
There are basically 2 ways in which the temperature of an air parcel can be changed. So-called diabatic processes involve direct energy exchanges. so-called
Good morning,
diabatic
everybody.
processes
I hope you
involve
can hear
direct
me at
energy
the back.
exchange.
I should tell you a bit
particularly
about
loud voice, so if I
the
start mumbling,
cooling of the air as it moves
morning,
thermal
everybody.
circulation
I hope
is
you
a
can hear me
big
at the back.
start. I should tell you a bit about the thermal
Morning,
hammer
everybody. I hope you can hear me at the back.
This thermal
I actually heard that question asked of Jim Tobin on one of those talking shows on Sunday morning.
And a large part of this unit is thinking about trying to calculate return.
There are three approaches to evaluate risk: analytical, Monte Carlo, and the most popular, historical simulation. What is the historical? There are three approaches to evaluate risk: analytical, Monte Carlo, and the most popular.
Lecture on historical comprehension. That's being able to get historical information
One
from
of my
articles,
favorite
documents.
Well, the answer
is
we
talked a little bit about this, but I just want to give you the details.
I think that
so historical
some of the
comprehension.
best.
This is how we
What
get
causes
We
these
talked about how to
surface?
calculate volatility by using
Well,
the
the
expected return. But what if you don't know the expected return? Well, in that
Finding
case, you can use historical realized. We talked about how to calculate volatility by using the expected return. But what if you don't know the expected
If you like what you're hearing, be sure to check out the full song at the link below.
ஹலோ டார்லிங்ஸ் எல்லாரும் எப்படி இருக்கீங்க நல்லா இருப்பீங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன் இன்னைக்கு நம்ம யாரோட ஃபேமிலிஸ் எல்லாரும் எப்படி இருக்கீங்க
And welcome to the second event in our Personalizing History series, the African American Genealogy Workshop. And we're so pleased you could join us this evening. I'm Dory Gottschalk Fielding from Seymour Library's History Discovery Center. And we have as our special guest tonight, Dr. Shelley Viola Murphy. Our Personalizing History series is made possible through a humanities grant for libraries.
And we're going to start off
American Rescue Plan Humanities Grants for Libraries. It's an initiative of the American Library Association.
As we are looking at these surface weather maps and interpreting them. And the first is that if we have a surface slope air pressure chart, and we're going to start off looking at just surface weather maps. And so there are a few rules.
To cover
Yeah, that's entirely correct.
But how do they get there?
It's estimated that over the next few
Ocean current. We hear about strange things.
So climate change puts an additional handbrake
Places
on
being washed up on our shores all the time. But how do they get there? Ocean currents are the movements of surface water in the oceans. Their direction is influenced by many factors, include ocean currents and the movements of many factors.
We've all heard the term.
You've extensively lectured and toured at universities, and you have a few, if not many.
How do mountains form? You see them in just a moment of time, but they form over millions of years.
The creation of the spreading process. This comes from the mid-Atlantic ridge.
Flying past the Earth at this time, we see a vast grey ocean.
Core. Near the surface, the rock spreads in two directions and goes sideways. It begins to lose heat. Cooler rock sinks back down. Through this spreading process,
a lot of water vapor.
67 people are killed and damage is widespread.
Whenever we have collision of plates.
I have in front of me
In 1980, Mount St. Helens, a long dormant volcano, suddenly comes to life, spewing tons.
Today starting a new topic is thermohaline.
In 1989, a major earthquake strikes North. In 1989, a major earthquake strikes Northern California. 67 people were killed. A long dormant volcano.
The Flash Flood Guidance System, or FFGS, has been developed as a state-of-the-art forecasting tool by providing easily accessible, quality-controlled precipitation estimates gathered from weather radar, satellites, and powers hydrological and meteorological forecasters to produce timely and accurate flash flood warnings worldwide. By the end of 2019, FFGS covers more than 60 countries and 3 billion people.
You guys about climate classification. Buddy knows a lot about climate change, but we're going to talk about climate classification today.
Hello, my name is Brent Bullard.
System.
In this presentation, I will be giving a primer on river basin modeling.
Classification system.
In greenhouse gas concentrations, and they're not if you don't. That isn't really fair because it makes it so many.
It seems like an odd question. It implies that somehow we have substituted some abnormal for what was once considered normal. But what is normal when we talk of climate? Was it the 1940s when record numbers of hurricanes ravaged our shores? Or the 1970s?
I'd like to show you, demonstrate for you a very simple demonstration.
So good afternoon, everybody. It is my pleasure, instead of Gabi's today, to introduce our speaker, Dr. Dominik Brunner. Dominik is the head of
hi guys. I'd like to show you,
Switzerland.
for you a very
He
simple
got his PhD from ETH in Zurich.
The heat's on back at Ice Station Central. The greenhouses are ready, and the Janie Ice Dolls are chilling out.
We're partnering with Bill Gates because we were inspired by his new book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. You can find out more about how we can all work together to avoid a climate disaster in the link in the description. Disaster. You can find out more about how we can all work together to avoid a climate disaster in the link.
Where we got last time was basically to the end of chapter 3 in the book. So we have created our first climate model, which balances energy coming in and energy going out. And it has to get to the Earth by electromagnetic radiation. So we have created our first climate model, which balances energy coming in and energy going out. Just a big ball floating. And it in cartoon form.
Our star, the Sun, releases phenomenal amounts of energy. This energy makes its way through the space and falls onto Earth. This solar radiation passes through the Earth's amounts of energy. This energy makes its way through the space and falls onto Earth. This solar radiation passes through the Earth's atmosphere on entry. Further, some of the solar radiation...
So any kind of activities are unevenly distributed across the world.
So how the series we're doing is
In this series, I've looked at how theatre was first invented. In this series, I've looked at how theatre was first invented by the tragedian Euripides, and at how it played a vital part in the lives of the ancient and disturbed. It tells of women who learn.
It's great to have all of you here for this briefing. We have 3 distinguished speakers for you today. Mr. Pateri Talas, the Secretary from the University of York. It's great to have all of you here for this briefing. We have 3 distinguished speakers for you today. Mr. Pateri Talas.
Today's lessons are about air masses and fronts. Well, air masses are just large bodies of
eyeball here. Okay, so if you're driving around and your check engine light here is staying on steadily.
Defining what an air mass is. And an air mass is a body of air with a similar temperature
to begin our review, let's start. Today's lesson is going to start with a review about air masses, fronts, and low pressure and how that affects storm formation. And then we're going to move
climate extremes, attribution and risk.
And then we're going to move.
There's an example here of one that was in the news just recently about
I'm going to talk about a subject that it was quite interesting to Darwin, about which he had strong views.
Us. And you'll notice in the picture that we have this is air that is moist because it's coming from the Pacific Ocean, and it's cold because it's coming from the North Pole.
हेलो दोस्तों, मेरे इस वीडियो में आपका स्वागत है। आज हम जानेंगे कि किसी भी गेम को हैक कैसे करें। हैक जो उसके अलग से वेबसाइट्स हम
Climate change is a huge problem, and it can feel hard to make an impact as an individual. But there are things you can do that can cut your personal carbon emissions by 8, 10, even 15%. Changing the most impactful habits can be hard. That's why the climb helps you choose an ambitious carbon.
Aristotle and many of his contemporaries believed that citizens of a democracy should study and practice rhetoric. On rhetoric, Aristotle notes 4 key advantages of studying the practical art of rhetoric.
Hello, and welcome to the second of It's Not Just Programmers Who Have Trouble Counting. During that war, the British lost about 1,500 sailors to enemy action, and almost 100,000, the population of a small city, to scurvy.
Think about geography. Perhaps the first thing that comes to mind is
In this
land.
episode, I speak with Joe Duggan, a doctoral
A quick review video.
Climatic zones of the Earth.
What comes to mind is land. You might think of the continents, or of the many different landforms
on Earth. The amount of heat received
Water,
from
too,
the sun
might
is
come to
maximum
mind,
at the equator.
such as oceans and rivers and lakes. You might also think of the people
let's not look at
living on the earth.
relative.
Water, too, might come. You might think of the continents, or of the many different landforms found on the earth.
Air masses. Now, remember before we talked
Water,
about
too, might come to mind, such as oceans and rivers and lakes. You might also think of the people living on the earth and how their lives
across the United States.
All
they
weather
have
it
a
will change to
counterclockwise
new air
circulation.
masses
So here we see the
over the
bubbles
area.
spinning around
So what is an air mass?
counterclockwise.
An
Now,
air
air
mass
masses.
is a large
Now,
body of
remember
air
before we
that
talked
has
about
the
these
same
low
temperature
pressure
and
systems that move
moisture.
across.
There are 5 different kinds of air masses.
Okay, this
Guten
tutorial
Tag,
is
Herr
going
Foster.
to
Ich
help
möchte gerne eine große Vase haben.
Hello. Here's the 3 skills a few students have.
Guten Tag, Herr Foster. Ich möchte gerne eine große Vase haben. Die schönste, die ihr da habt.
Polar air masses.
Aber warten Sie, ich bringe den
Maritime meaning
Sektkühler.
moist,
Der Kühler ist gut.
polar meaning cold.
Ist sogar
So let's keep talking about air masses. And remember, air masses, we generally, so now we've talked about pressure differences. Now we're ready to talk about wind.
We've had a
And when we think of wind, actually we think of it's the and when we think of wind, actually we think of it's the movement of air horizontally. Basically the same elevation. That's what we think of wind. It's the movement of air.
Guten Tag,
And why
meine
does
Lieselotte. Guten Tag, Herr Foster. Ich möchte gerne eine große Vase haben. Die schönste, die ihr da habt. Aber warten Sie, ich bringe den Sektkühler. Der Kühler ist gut. Ist sogar
the same elevation.
All right, well,
horizontally.
First of all, I guess welcome Laura to our seminars, to the Dias Astro seminars. Laura did her PhD.
Okay, so thanks for coming.
Now, as you can see, I opened up this lesson with this gorgeous picture of this sunlight.
There's another way of looking at the atmosphere.
Seine Eltern sind Bekannte meiner Frau und
If you could unwrap the atmosphere and wrap the atmosphere from the surface
Nun, was
of
meinst
the
du?
earth,
Versorgung?
put it all into a ball. This is what it
Trees
would look
from
like.
start to finish in Python.
This video will look at IB section 5.3 classification of biodiversity. It's really looking at the diversity of living things on the planet and also how we classify them. Scientists really like the ability to classify and organize species. This video will look at IB section.
But it also has a physical presence.
Section 5.3 classification of biodiversity. Really looking at 5.3 classification of biodiversity.
Troposphere we live in.
ये डायग्राम है
And also
ये जो लेटर यूज किए हैं कोपन ने अपनी सुविधा के लिए यूज किए थे और हम इनका एक बार दोबारा से रिवीजन हम कोपन का देखेंगे इंडिया के पर्सपेक्टिव में उन्होंने कैसे क्लाइमेट का क्लासिफिकेशन किया ये डायग्राम है ये जो लेटर यूज किए हैं कोपन ने अपनी सुविधा के लिए
What variables? It is this specific week. These four variables I'm talking about are the presence.
Hi, welcome to Linology. Today we're going to talk about the hydrologic cycle. Obviously, the hydrologic cycle, which refers to the cycling of water around the planet, is really important. We're going to talk about the hydrologic cycle. Obviously, the hydrologic cycle, which refers to the cycling of water around the planet, is really important to the study of water. So today we're going to talk about the movement of water.
The Earth's circumference is nearly 25,000 miles.
Now we are going to understand what
Obviously, the
important
hydrologic
that.
cycle, which refers to the cycling of water around the planet, is really important.
This is very important because even
When we look at populations of hosts and whole communities of both hosts and pathogens. And this week, the extra panelists that we have here, the lectures this week has been ecology. And after we talked about characteristics of our hosts and characteristics of pathogens,
Hello students, this video lecture is on parallel processing and parallel processing and the students by Ms. Neelam Sharma, assistant professor.
A library is basically a collection of various materials. With so many materials, one of the major functions of the library is to organize.
Hello everyone and welcome to this.
Call number. Call numbers come from a specific classification system. Call numbers come.
We want to dedicate
And
this
that's
lecture to
why.
my professor.
And that's why each item, such as each of these books, is given a specific materials. With so many materials, one of the major functions of the library is to organize.
Faceted classification is a classification scheme used in organizing knowledge into a system.
Tropical waters powers the weather systems of the globe. Moisture evaporates.
In our throwaway world, a plastic bag outlets.
Pričamo bar na neku komercijalnom nivou gdje ipak možda vi više pripadate nego militari. Oni su malo fleksibilni gdje imate, dakle, napraviti šemu, ali one u stvari...
আমরা
আজকের ভিডিওতে যেটা দেখব সেটা হচ্ছে বায়ুপুঞ্জের উৎস অঞ্চল।
Just a quick update on the dose that I actually received
Organization of
during my
such
trip
resources
to
is
Brazil.
important for easy retrieval.
One
One way of organizing library resources is
Hello everyone, it's Mike here again from Scratch, and if you've been following this channel for some time, you know that I absolutely love free tools. And I've got another excellent one to share with you, and this one is absolutely delightful. Alright, I'm not going to make that pun anymore, but what we're looking at today is Agisoft D-Lighter. Now this is a very purpose-built tool. This one is all about removing light from a tube, and this one is absolutely delightful.
Your individual
I'm not going to make
reading
that
for
pun
each of
anymore.
the four
What we're looking at today is Agisoft D-Lighter. Now this is a
Ladies and
very
gentlemen,
purpose-built
please
tool.
join me
This one is
in
all about
5
removing
nominees
light from a
for
texture.
outstanding
Why would you want to do this?
of a
Well, let's
feature
say
film
you
by
use
the
a tool
Directors
like
Guild
Meshroom,
of
which I will show you in a
America.
minute. It's linked. I did a video on it in the past, or some other, But what we are looking at today is Agisoft D-Lighter. Now this is a very purpose-built tool. This one is all about removing light from a texture. So why would you want to do this? Well, let's say you use a tool like Meshroom, which I will show you in a minute. It's linked. I did a video on it in the past.
Goes together in any order, usually the same answer, and we'll show you that that property holds.
Most of our planet is covered by water. More than 97% of our planet's water occurs. Planet is covered by water. More than 97% of our planet.
Okay, hi, welcome to. Okay, hi, welcome to. Okay, hi, welcome to. Okay, hi, welcome to our next Tropical Forest Ecology and Use lecture. Our next Tropical Forest Ecology and Use lecture, changes in tropical ecosystems over geological
ITCZ is around the entire year for monsoon. Returning to our climate region schematic, tropical monsoons are not as hot as tropical rainforests, but they are definitely quite wet. Earlier when I mentioned the tropical rainforest climate, I highlighted the fact that the ITCZ is around the entire year. That differs when we look at a tropical monsoon.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
And so the amount of rainfall that affects a tropical monsoon area is
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now I would like to switch to northern. At the northern hemisphere, in northern hemisphere, we had a large
above 66 degrees. In the Arctic, above the ice and below. Gleaming starkly white, the frozen Arctic Ocean crowns the top of the world, above 66 degrees northwest. Frozen Arctic Ocean crowns the top of the world, above 66 degrees northwest.
How pleased you are to chop away, Jack. My name is Monsoon, of the winds of destruction. Or is that just? How pleased you are to chop away, Jack. My name is Monsoon, of the winds of destruction.
Carry things across different oceans. Scientists like to understand them because
The song's called
Not so black and white now, is it?
Olá, nós estamos aqui na Guiné.
Or is that just what you tell yourself?
Olá, nós estamos aqui na Guiné e pedimos para que você não confunda.
Its function is to
Porque
cancel
o
out
continente
Earth's
africano carrega
rotation
consigo 3 países com o mesmo nome.
carrying a
Guiné,
telescope.
com a capital Conakry, Guiné-Bissau, com a capital Bissau, e Guiné Equatorial, com a capital Malabo. E é aqui onde nós estamos.
Science explorations. Mais detalhes sobre esse assunto,
Today's lab
porque
is all
curso de
about
qualificação.
ocean currents.
Welcome friends, in this
We're
video
going to
let's
use
discuss
colored
about
water to
United
decide
Nations
how water
on climate change, that is UNFCCC. In 1992 Rio Earth Summit was organized. It was also called as United Nations Conference on Environment Development. On that conference, 3 important international conventions were opened for signing from the countries.
However, as an observer on the surface of the Earth, the only indication our planet is rotating is in the observation at hundreds of miles per hour. So just how fast are we moving? Well, at the equator, the rotational velocity. The only indication our planet is rotating is in the observation of the sun during the day and the stars during the night. In this view of Earth from space, it is clear that the Earth is rotating. However, as an observer on the surface of the Earth, the only indication our planet is rotating is in the observation of the sun during the day.
This is normally something useful. It helps us grow things like tomatoes out of season. That's because it's nice and warm inside a greenhouse. The sunlight enters and visible light penetrates the glass. This is partly absorbed by the plants and the soil and partly reflected on the outside as and the ice is melting at the North and South poles. One reason for this is the greenhouse effect. But what is the greenhouse effect? A greenhouse
video segment
is a difficult one because our atmosphere, it's constantly changing. You see, in order to predict the weather accurately for the hours and days ahead, weather forecasters must analyze information they receive from a number of sources, including local weather observers.
When you're flying direct to a waypoint with your GPS,
okay, in this presentation we're going to look at weather forecasting.
Hi everybody, I'm Tim Gore, your host for the program today, and I'm very happy to welcome you to this look.
Weather maps have images, and it's a module of scikit-learn called datasets. And in there we can load Iris. It's a inbuilt load Iris. It's a inbuilt data set essentially to practice on. That's why we have it. So
hi, I'm Chris Strong with the National Weather Service. We've been talking about how you can forecast the weather. The next topic we're going to discuss is long-range forecasting.
So we have with us Dr. DTPS.
Just by observing the weather and what's around us. We want to know what could be happening in some days.
Alright, so before we start with this class, talk about homework. So the homework has one message because you've heard in the so the homework has one message.
Physics 1 tutor dealt with all of your mechanics. All of the things associated with
thermodynamic analysis. We have been using several graphs.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with all of you here today. Our generations are standing on a precipice, staring into a void whose depths science does not know yet. You all know that. I'm here to put a little bit of flash on those bones, not very much in 7 minutes, to try to set the stage.
So before we look into how environmental policies can actually improve our agricultural supply potential in the long run, we're going to look at what the problems that exist in the environment are.
Coast, which is overwhelmingly a humid subtropical. Versus the Mediterranean is the humid subtropical. Regions we'll be looking at. This is going to be one of the driest, but also the hottest place
in the fall, and one's going to look at. However, you can see the difference between the humid subtropical versus the Mediterranean
They function as a green lung and capture carbon. They are very rich in
latitudinally, these are going to be closer to the equator than the following ones we're going to look at.
The year
However,
is
you can see the
1930.
difference between the
In New
humid
York.
subtropical versus the Mediterranean is the humid subtropical is a bit wetter.
Level 2. Rainforests are not seen in your backyard, and maybe not even in the country where you live. Certain conditions need
Some of the most primitive of plants, the ferns, now 400 million years ago.
Think I'm wasting.
Hello.
If I sing you another song, describing ways for a change. Cause I've been doing that.
Function of emission factors, how to apply global warming potentials, and how to total your emissions.
Now we're going to go through the climate regions.
In the subarctic climate, the DFC,
Europe.
Hello, this is Dr. John Truggy, and
but let's go through each of them. And then there, from there, we'll just call it the humid continental. But let's go through each of them through the alphabet A through E. A climates. Do we find any here? No. Why? Because we're not in a tropical area. We associate A climates with tropical locations. B climates. We do see some B climates. Now, this map isn't perfect. It doesn't specifically describe every single area. You guys might have rain. Through the alphabet A through A climates. Do we find any here? No. Why? We're not in a tropical area. Temperature variation here, tropical, but also Russia locations. These are B climates. We do see some B climates. Now, this map isn't perfect. Doesn't specifically describe very
Places we've grown, all of us are done for.
Both being warmer, so latitude look at. However, you can see the difference between the humid subtropical and the Mediterranean.
Like stones, all
In the United States, it's our southeast coast, which is overwhelmingly a humid. Mediterranean is the subtropical is a bit wetter. Climate regions, Mediterranean, humid subtropical. We can see that the humid subtropical is right next to the Mediterranean in terms of both being warmer, so latitudinally these are going to be closer to the equator than the following.
It's a place of phenomenal beauty.
There are two polar areas
Majestic
in the world.
landscapes, cloaked
The
in
polar
snow and ice.
Arctic.
Arctic. It's a place of phenomenal beauty. The Arctic.
In World War II, the average age of the combat soldier was 26. In Vietnam, it was 19.
The Arctic. It's a place of phenomenal beauty. Majestic landscapes, cloaked in snow and ice. The Arctic. It's a place of phenomenal beauty.
नमस्कार सबैजनालाई श्रीदेवी कालवर्षम सम्बन्धित कालावस्था वगुप നൽകുന്ന ഏറ്റവും പുതിയ कालवर्षम നേരത്തെ എത്തുമെന്ന कालावस्था
मान्सूनच्या आगमनासंदर्भातली ही सर्वात मोठी बातमी आहे कारण केरळात 27 मेलाच मान्सून दाखल होण्याची शक्यता आहे. हवामान विभागानं हा अंदाज जाहीर केलाय. केरळात मान्सून
होण्याची शक्यता आहे. हवामान विभागानं हा अंदाज जाहीर केलाय. केरळात मान्सून दाखल होण्यासाठी पोषक खरं तर महाराष्ट्रात आठवडाभराआधीच मान्सून येण्याचा अंदाज वर्तवण्यात आलाय.
Classification means to categorize things according to their similarities. Classification happens everywhere, be it at home or school. For instance, we classify the foods that we eat.
Alright, we're going to try this video one more time. Worked hopefully pretty well the first time, so hopefully the second time will go just as smoothly. A couple people had questions about oxygen isotopes and trying to figure out ways that we know how the climate used to be well before we had thermometers. So I am going to talk about the oxygen isotopes, so I'll draw that on the board. I'm going to talk about a couple other things known as climate proxies. A climate proxy is again a way that you can figure out what climate used to be. Way back in the day, we're talking hundreds of years, thousands of years, even hundreds of thousands of years in the past. So first, oxygen isotopes.
So let me give you an example.
This is one of the best ways to figure out what temperatures used to be like on the planet.
They're very, very similar, but there is a difference between the two.
Let's start with the ice cores. Ice cores gathered from mostly Antarctica.
Hello everybody, this is Brock, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the subarctic
Southern Alaska, Sweden, China, Finland, Iceland, and various other high altitude areas around the world. These regions generally have short, cool summers and harsh, long winters, dropping to negative 20 to 30 degrees
Over
Celsius.
time, the climate has begun to change. The air and water have
Canada is
formed
almost
possibly
completely. Canada is home.
As a result,
We don't want to keep you guessing for too long now. It's Canada. Canada is home to the second largest
humid continent in the mild summer. We'll just lump them in and call them humid continental. Key characteristics of the humid continental climate include the fact it's only found in the northern hemisphere. This makes sense. Previously I mentioned there's the humid continental climate. It varies between what they call the hot summer. It varies between what they call the hot summer and the mild summer. We'll just lump them.
there are 12 different
humid continental.
Each
Key characteristics of the humid continental climate.
Champaign, Illinois climate type. Hey guys, today I'm going to teach you about the different climate types. Climate is usually defined as the weather conditions in an area over a long period of time. There are 12 different climate types found on Earth. Each teach you about the different climate types. Climate is usually defined as the weather conditions in an area over a long period of time. There are 12 different climate types found on Earth. Each of the 12 climate types are grouped into 5 categories. First, let's talk about
Plastic harms people, animals, and our environment. But it also poses a more hidden threat.
Hello, we are
Plastic contributes to climate change.
consists of 2 climate regions.
It may
tropical wet and
compromise
tropical
our
wet dry.
surface.
Tropical wet is only found along the equator. Areas of tropical wet are found in Brazil, Indonesia, and the Philippines.
What role does the ocean play?
Climate is usually defined as the weather conditions.
Center for
Today, I'm going to teach you about the different climate types. Climate is usually defined as the weather conditions in an area over a long period of time. There are 12 different climate types found on Earth.
Data set
Each
here.
of the 12 climate is
and
usually defined
the
as
same
the weather
table.
conditions
You can see our
in an
frequency
area
distribution
over
here,
a long
our
period of
relative
time.
frequency distribution. Now we're going to construct a cumulative relative frequency
Vor vielen hundert Jahren sind sie hierher gekommen, in Zeiten Iwan des Schrecklichen. Sie nannten sich die Pomoren, die am Meer wohnen, aber seit jener großen Fern der Küste lebten. Die ersten
relative frequency
using the frequency column, we constructed
kind of a long title.
This is what it looks
A
like.
cumulative relative frequency distribution.
Here we're looking at
100 years ago.
in this animation we're taking Arctic sea ice into the third dimension.
ಖಂಡಿತ ಹಲವೆಡೆ ಆಸಾನಿ ಸೈಕ್ಲೋನ್ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್